Hey folks, welcome back to the Portable Gamer, welcome back to MotoGP 18, and welcome to the Red Bull Ring from Austria. This is round 10. Oh, that's a pretty shot. Ah, I like that. I hope we get to see that next lap. So, probably my favorite, one of my favorite circuits on the calendar, on any calendar, on Moto, on F1, sports car, German touring car. I really, really like this track. And I feel like I've had an epiphany. I feel like it has all been revealed to me, and things make a lot more sense now. So we'll get into that. Here we go. Started the weekend and did the development programs, did the practice programs as always, and they were a little harder this time, I have to say. And I began to think. Speed trap was no problem. Speed trap it's just speed traps. There's 4 or 5 of them around the track, and you have to be at a certain minimum speed when you pass through the trap. Pretty standard. The second development program is braking, and I was early on almost all. I still got greens, but I was early for all my brake points, and I thought, well, that's odd because this bike has always had unbelievable brakes. Look at me painting these curbs, man. Little wobble, but I am like, oh God. Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. So, brake points. It didn't like where I was braking. It wanted me to brake later. But I didn't need to. I mean, that's not where I brake on this track. I have a lot of laps on this track in cars. Not too many in motorcycles. But when I first got MotoGP 18 several months back, the very first track that I took a motorcycle out on was the Red Bull Ring. I really love this track. So, and then the third development program, the third practice program is the line test. And essentially you go through a gate and then they want you to be on the line through various lefts, rights, straights, and then you pass through another gate. And the closer you are to that line, sort of as an average between gates, you get a percentage. Like if you're on the line the whole time, you score 100. If you're on and off it, you score a 90 or an 85 or whatever. And you have to get like an 80, I think, to get a green. And I was getting like mid 80s, and I got green, but again, I'm thinking like, that's weird. I feel like I have a different line than it wants me to have. I feel like I'm braking at different points than it wants me to brake at. It's weird. Now, I did jack the AI another 5 points before this race. You can't adjust it during the weekend, but you can adjust it between weekends. So I bumped it up another 5 because I feel like we're getting better and better, and the bike is getting stronger and stronger. So then I qualified 2 seconds off the front, 2 seconds off P2. And I think, okay, so this is the revelation that has occurred to me. I've been really trying to sort out, and in fact, we're going to go to a different camera. Moment, please. Camera is W. I want to go to the chase cam. There we go. Particularly going into the hairpin. Watch how this bike like wobbles and skitters around. And hopefully it doesn't. Yeah, you can sort of see it right there. We'll see it on some hard braking. In fact, coming up to this next 180, you'll be able to see it. So this was the revelation that I had when I got that pole position, because I've struggled with this game. Yeah, see that little wobble left to right? We're going to talk about that in a second too. So this is what I thought to myself as I've been going through the calendar, and some tracks I do well on, other tracks I struggle on, and I've been trying to figure out like, where do I set the AI? Like, how do I set the bike up? And I realized today, it's just practice laps. That's all it is. I have so many laps on the Red Bull Ring, probably as many or more laps on this track than I have any other F1 track, or any other race track. I call it an F1 track. I think of it primarily as F1, but I have as many laps on the Red Bull Ring. I mean, maybe like Laguna Seca, maybe the Nordschleife. But I love this track, and I have a lot of laps on it. And so the sort of the epiphany, the revelation was, no, there's nothing wrong with the AI. There's nothing wrong with the setup. It's just putting in those practice laps until you know every turn, every apex, everything. So I'm new to MotoGP, and I'm getting all these things sort of figured out. But in the meantime, as I'm learning how to race MotoGP, or at least in the sim, you know what I mean, not in real life, but as I learn the MotoGP 18 sim, I also just need to accept that I'm not going to be competitive until I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of practice laps on these tracks. It's just, there's no way around it. So I will continue, yeah, see that wobble? I will continue to jack the AI as I'm getting better at the game and as we're tuning the bike, but a lot of it is going to come down to just share time. So that wobble, I keep telling you about that wobble, and there are times when we're going into the hairpin at the top of the hill, what is that, turn 3, where it's really, really pronounced, and I'll tell you a little bit about setting up. So in this sim, this is getting kind of, nah, we'll leave this on. In this sim, you know, I know car setup, but I also use the setup tools. There's 2 of them in the Steam store. There's Race Car Engineer and there's Setup Development Tool. I use both of those. They're pay apps. They're Steam store apps. Well worth it if you're really into race sims. And there's no endorsement or anything. I don't know them and they don't know me. I'm just telling you 2 apps that I have that I use that really work well for me. But that's for car setup. Setting up a motorcycle, at this point, I don't have the experience and the familiarity to freelance. So I've been relying on my engineer. And the way this is set up is it begins with a top level menu. Turns, okay? Then, let's see if we get that wobble. Yeah, shimmy. That used to be so much worse because it begins with top level, turns, and then next level. What part of the turn? Entry, apex, exit. And then the next level down. You select that, and the next level down is stability, precision. Is the bike opening up? Is it tightening up? Like what is it doing? And those are the things that you can suggest. Those are the things that you can request, and then it suggests changes to the bike back to you. You can either make them manually, you can accept them and make them automatically, or you can do nothing with them. So as I was prowling around in there, I started going, I guess, deeper into those menus than I had in the past. I wouldn't say that I was staying like top level, but I wasn't digging deep enough. And sure enough, a couple levels in, I find instability on entry, on corner entry, including skidding with the rear wheel, obviously, and wobbling. So I made the changes, and it essentially moved some weight back, stiffened the front end a little bit, and I want to say, no, there was a brake adjustment, but you can make that separately to the rear brake. But essentially what it did was it let me brake a lot harder. Let's see if we can get back to a good camera here. I think this is our track side, or is this fixed tank cam? That's fixed. There we go, track side. So to me, that's getting pretty esoteric. When you're getting into things like, you know, the bike is, the rear wheel is lifting and moving side to side under hard braking into turns. And there's a fix for that. That's pretty esoteric. But all those adjustments, I feel, you know, combined, all work together to make a good lap. And what we're looking for here, you know, as sophisticated as these sims are, we're looking to take off tenths of a second per lap. And that's the other thing that's sort of daunting is, you know, run these circuits enough on the same equipment and you will have a lap time. Whether it's, you know, 140 or 137 or whatever. When you cannot run any faster than 137, and when you can run 137 lap after lap after lap, then you can, you know, dig a little deeper into setup, and let's see if we can get a 136.9, 136.8. And to me, that's what these race sims, like, that's when they really shine, is they're not arcade games, and it's not as simple as just finding the pattern or finding the vulnerability in the AI and exploiting it and then saying that you're racing. Like they really are race simulators. And in real racing, you will have a limit where you cannot go any faster. You cannot lap any faster. And so you start looking for a 10th here and a 10th there. And I feel like that's the point that I'm getting to. Although it only applies on tracks like this one that I know well enough that I feel like I am at the best lap time that I can turn. So we did Czech Republic, Brno last week. This is the first time I've ever not only been on that track, I think it might be the first time I've ever even seen that track outside of TV coverage. So I had no idea. And I'm sure, we did probably 50 or 60 laps in practice and testing. And then an 11-lap race, 10-lap race. So call it 70 laps. Even on the outside, call it 100. I feel like I would need 500 laps before I really owned that track. So on the Red Bull Ring, I have that. On Brno, I just don't. And I feel like until I do, I won't really know what my real timer on Brno is. So yeah, that was my sort of eye-opener. I don't have... I wouldn't say that I had a problem with the AI, but I don't have as much of a problem with the AI as more so now than I used to. Am I saying that right? I think I know what I'm trying to say. I was trying to figure out the AI. There's nothing to figure out. It's me and putting in lap after lap on these tracks until I'm solid. The AI is doing its thing. I need to learn to just race better around it. So that's where we're at. We've got 1 or 2 more laps. It's a fairly quick race. It's a fairly short circuit. One of the shortest on the calendar, I believe. I think maybe only Monaco. And again, that's F1. I know they don't race motorcycles in Monaco. But as far as circuit length and lap time, I want to say this is one of the shorter laps on the circuit on the calendar. So yeah, we're just about done. And decisive, flag to flag. We led. We were on the pole. We led the end of lap 1. We led every lap, and obviously, spoiler alert, we do manage to hold everybody off. Now, they reeled me in a couple times, and that's Kane and Bezecchi, I want to say. I'm sorry, Kane and Martin behind me, and they do reel me in a couple times. They get right, almost in my slipstream. But I hold them off, and it's weird because I'm terribly fast in Sector 1. I feel like I'm about even in Sector 2, and then I lose time on them, or they gain time on me in Sector 3. Yeah, they're right up behind me. But then, like heading into the hairpin, they're well off the back, and I feel starting from Turn 1, just being able to start the lap with a good Turn 1, by the time we get to the hairpin, they're well behind, although they do catch me up. And I know, as close as they are, Kane is like 0.3 seconds behind me. I know, had I bobbled at all, at least Kane, potentially Kane and Jorge Martin both would have gone past me. So yeah, you can see I gap them out up this long straight, and then really feel good about the way I'm able to get through the hairpin. And it's not, that one and Turn 4. This 180 that we're coming up on right here. It's weird because my line for both of them, now I do struggle to stay in on the apex, but my line on both of these 180s is a little bit less than right on the apex. And then I open it up and into 5 and 6. So, like I was saying earlier about the practice programs, my line and their line are different, but I felt like I did all right. So I'm curious. I mean, obviously, you can take any line you want as long as you're fast. But I do know that in racing, there is one geographically? No, that's wrong. Geometrically. There's one geometrically perfect line for any given machine. And it's sort of up to you as a rider to keep whatever equipment you're operating on that line, because it's like it's math. There's no gray area. So maybe my line and their line are different, and I don't know if that's if that's completely true or if it's just the way that I ride. Makes sense. I feel like I'm not making any sense today. Oh, whatever. That happens some days. And this has got to be our last lap. Yeah. So I will have a big swig of Red Bull. Coincidentally enough, and this is the sugar-free purple edition. And it's getting kind of scarce. I don't know how much more of that is available. But it's one of their summertime flavors where I am. And we're definitely getting into autumn. Alright. I'm liking this game more and more every time I play it. And I'm really looking forward to getting into Moto 2. I had thought about staying in Moto 3 for a couple seasons. But I think we're learning enough. And because it is the full 19 race calendar, I think we can go ahead and go to Moto 2 essentially as soon as they ask us. And I think that will be at the end of the year. Hopefully we'll get an offer. If we don't, then we will certainly be moved up to First Rider. And that's always nice. But it would also be nice to do the entire calendar next year with a fully tuned KTM. Because by then, I mean, with all the points that we're getting for winning races and the development programs, I don't think it will be any problem to have this bike fully tuned by the end of the season, which means we would head into next year hopefully much faster than anybody else in the paddock. All right. So that's our race. This is, round 10, round 11, round 10. Round 10, is it not? And I don't know what this is going to do to us in the points. We were in second, were we not? Yeah, we were in second, and it's going to be tough. We were like 36 points back. One more lap, obviously. We were like 36 points back, and I don't know if we have enough races left to make up 36 points. Even if we win every race, which is not likely, and first place in the Riders' Championship places behind us, even by one position, I don't know if that would be enough, but the idea of winning every race is pretty daunting. And I feel like, I don't know how I would do all the math on it. I'll figure it out. You know what? There might even be an online... In fact, now that I think about it, there must be an online Drivers' Championship points mathematical elimination calculator. I'll take a look. But I think with as few races as we have and as far behind as we are, it would be very challenging to win this championship. But I don't know that we ever really expected to in our first season in Moto 3. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And yeah, I'm curious now how far behind we're going to be after this race. We are so hot and cold with our finishes. Yeah, I don't even know where we're going next week. I was just trying to think, like, what's the next circuit? Do I even know it? But yeah, the odds of us winning every race, closing out the season. Right, that's the end of it. So let's go back here. So how'd we do? Yeah, we won by 1 second. I'll take that. And let's go to standings. 23 points back. 23 points back. I don't know. It'd be awesome if we could do it. Folks, thanks for stopping back to check out The Portable Gamer. Thanks for joining us for another episode of MotoGP 18. And we'll see you next time. Take care.